Japan.
Welcome to Channel Japan. I'm Makia Rai.
And I'm Yasu Ota.
Every week we bring you the freshest information out of Japan, right here from our studio in Tokyo. From the economy to culture and even food. If you want to know what's happening in Japan, this is where you'll find it. First up is Channel Japan Ranking, in which we rank the hottest products and the services in the country. Today, it's a ranking of the top stews cooked and eaten straight out of a steaming hot pot called nabe in Japanese. So they're extremely popular at this time of year when the weather gets cold.
That's right. And this is how they look like. They typically contains meat, vegetables, and various other ingredients in the soup. And like you mentioned, they are very popular in winter and a great way for family, friends, and the colleagues to get together around the dinner table.
So what are the most popular nabe in Japan? Have a look.
Channel Japan Ranking.
Japan is in the midst of a cold winter. During this season, there's one dish that people here eat to warm themselves up. Nabe. Nabe is a type of stew that contains a variety of ingredients, such as meat, fish, Chinese cabbage, and mushrooms. It's a winter specialty, eaten together with family and friends.
寒くなってきたんで、鍋の季節かなみたいな。
So this time, we'll show you the top 5 nabe in Japan, as ranked in a survey carried out by Hot Pepper, a nationwide whining and dining magazine. At number 5, Chicken Mizutaki. One person who chose this said, "It's light tasting but very flavorful." To try it out ourselves, we visited Genkai in Shinjuku, Tokyo. Once inside, a woman in kimono greets us. There's also a 2-meter wide Japanese drum. In the dining area, it's all private rooms. There's a distinctly Japanese atmosphere. Our taste tester this time is French cuisine expert Jennifer Julian, who teaches French cooking in Japan.
Wow, look at this, it's almost white. Yummy.
The broth is made by slowly stewing chicken bones. After 6 hours, the broth turns white. They say this process brings out the flavor. The broth is then transferred to a nabe, or pot. Stewed a little more, and it's done. The ingredients are eaten with ponzu, which is a combination of citrus juice and soy sauce. So how does it taste?
And this nabe, it really warms you up. And what is good is I think that it's not fatty. It really has a clean and very freshening taste. So I think it might be nice to have both. You know, when you have the meat, drink some soup with it too. Very tasty.
Once all the ingredients are eaten, there's another thing people look forward to.
It's called zosui. So you put some rice into the remaining broth.
Rice is mixed into the remaining broth to make something called shime, or a closing dish. At this restaurant, they recommend adding some stirred egg to make zosui, a rice porridge. How is it?
Rice has taken the taste of the chicken and it's really melting in the mouth. It's so smooth and it has such a delicate taste.
At number 4, Motsunabe. A person who chose this says, I love the chewy and unique texture. For this nabe, we visit Motsufuku Akasaka in Minato Ward, Tokyo.
もつ鍋になります。
Wow, this is gorgeous.
Motsu means innards in Japanese and includes beef intestines, heart, and stomach. The soup contains chicken and long onions and is flavored with fermented beans called miso. Lots of cabbage, leeks, and other vegetables are added, and it's done. Let's give it a try.
This is so tender in the mouth, but also a little bit chewy. It really has a delicate taste, which is kind of surprising because it's offal, right? The soup, the miso, probably gives it, more tenderness and more mildness. So it's really delicious.
At this restaurant, the meal is finished off with ramen noodles. How is it?
This is really firm and it's a little bit elastic and it's really not, getting soft like many Chinese noodles, I think. But it's like you can enjoy two dishes. First the nabe and then the ramen. So that's really interesting.
At number 3, Shabu Shabu. A person who chose this says, the additional fat is boiled off, so it has a light taste. We head to Shabuzen Roppongi in Minato Ward, Tokyo. They bring us the shabu shabu, but
しゃぶしゃぶでございます。
Wow, look at this.
inside the pot, there's nothing aside from a broth flavored with konbu or seaweed.
Stop.
In fact, shabu shabu is unlike most other nabe in that the meat, vegetables, and other ingredients are served separately.
Stop.
So, how do you eat this?
So it's very simple and easy. You put the meat inside and you shabu, 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 shabu. Okay, the color has changed, so it's perfectly done now.
The beef is dipped into the broth and is ready in about 10 seconds. The ingredients are eaten with a sesame sauce made from ground sesames or ponzu.
And let me try the meat with the sesame sauce. So yummy.
So, what does it taste like?
This is delightful. The sweetness of the sesame sauce and the sesame taste goes so well with the beef. And the beef is so thinly sliced that it really melts in the mouth. It's really a perfect balance.
Next, she tries ponzu.
This sauce, it's sharper because of the lemon lime. So, when you get tired of eating so much meat, have the ponzu and you'll be able to keep on enjoying having meat and other ingredients.
We spoke to some customers from abroad about what they think of shabu shabu.
How was your dinner today?
It was excellent. I enjoyed it very much.
It's great, especially it's wintertime. It's a little cold. It's a great dish, and it's great. I like it.
Everyone seems quite satisfied.
Muy delicioso.
Another popular choice here is crab shabu shabu.
It's exquisite. It's tender but firm. This kani is so fresh and really sweet and delicate taste of the crab, I think. The texture is so good.
At number 2, Kimchi Nabe. A person who chose this says, the spiciness works up your appetite, and it goes well with any type of ingredient. Kimchi Nabe contains a traditional Korean pickle made from Chinese cabbage and peppers. So we head to Japan's biggest Koreatown in Shin-Okubo, Tokyo. This area is home to over 170 Korean restaurants and is the place to go for authentic Korean food.
Okay, let's go and try kimchi nabe.
We'll be having the kimchi nabe at this restaurant.
お待たせしました。キムチ鍋でございます。
Look at this, it's so red.
This bright red soup is kimchi nabe. Inside are tofu, pork, round onions, and other vegetables, and lots of kimchi. It looks extremely spicy, but let's give it a try.
The pork and the kimchi go so well together. It's spicy, but not that hot, not that spicy. It's really a spiciness that you can enjoy. And this is really, like waves of spiciness and mildness. It is really, really delicious.
The restaurant tells us why this is so popular.
女性たちが結構いらっしゃる。召し上がったら綺麗になるんじゃないかって思うのでと思います。
Kimchi contains copious amounts of red peppers, which apparently stimulates the body's metabolism, so it's hugely popular among calorie-conscious women.
韓国の人って毎日キムチ食べるから肌綺麗みたいな。美容にも良くて、普通のお鍋としても2回楽しめる。美味しい。
And the meal is finished off with instant ramen noodles. What's it like?
The noodle really softens the taste. So it's still spicy, but it's a mild spiciness. Sometimes it's a bit tiring to have only spicy food. So to finish your meal, this is really good, I think.
Before we move on to number 1 on our list, Jennifer gives us her top nabe recommendation. We arrive at Pablo in Shibuya Ward, Tokyo. This is an Italian restaurant. What kind of nabe do they serve here?
Okay, so now I'd like to introduce you a unique nabe, tomato nabe.
This is Jennifer's recommendation, tomato nabe. Inside a tomato-based soup are big cuts of chicken, bacon, sausage, carrots, cabbage, and other vegetables. What's more, whole tomatoes. It's a Western-style nabe. Let's try it out.
So it's really good if you like tomatoes, and also I think it's probably very healthy and very freshening, I must say. It might be interesting to try a Western style nabe because sometimes, when you're here and you get tired of Japanese food, this kind of nabe.
They say 90% of people who order tomato nabe are women.
美味しい。ベーコンがゴロゴロしてるんで本当に美味しい。トマトの酸味がさっぱりしてて美味しいです。
Fans of tomato nabe appear to be growing. And finally, the number 1 nabe in Japan. It's none other than sukiyaki. Sukiyaki is the standard for nabe in Japan and may be familiar to some of our viewers. A person who chose this nabe says, the sweet and spicy sauce is a good match with the vegetables and meat, as well as white rice. we arrive at Sukiyaki Jido in Minato Ward, Tokyo.
こちらすき焼きでございます。
Wow, 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 look at this. But this is sukiyaki without, where is the meat?
Sukiyaki is eaten differently from other nabe. First, into the pot containing vegetables and tofu, a soup made from lots of brown sugar and soy sauce is added. Finally, the beef is stewed for a little bit and it's ready. So what does the number one nabe taste like?
You don't even have to bite it to catch it. That sauce is really sweet. The tenderness of the meat is well balanced with the deepness of the sauce, I think. It's very, very good.
Once everything is eaten, the meal is finished off with udon noodles.
Looks yummy. Look at the color. It's so dark.
And the taste?
I think this is really the perfect shime because the plainness of the udon goes so well with the deepness, the really deep taste of the sauce. So it's really a good balance. So you see there are many different kinds of nabe and many ways to enjoy them.
This time, we introduce the most popular nabe in Japan. If you plan to visit Japan in the winter, why not warm up with a steaming hot pot?
Ota-san, they all looked delicious, but which kind do you like the most?
Oh, I like sukiyaki. Japanese nabe means sukiyaki for me. Like song, you know the song of Japanese sukiyaki song?
Oh, I know.
That's what it's from.
Right. And I like the tomato nabe.
You like?
I put cheese inside when I eat, and probably 1/3 of the time I cook nabe at home is tomato nabe.
That often.
That often. Well, at the studio here are some pre-prepared nabe soups that you can buy at stores and that have become a big hit among Japanese consumers. And with these, you don't need to spend time cooking and preparing the soup. So it's a very convenient way of having nabe at home without the hassle.
That's right. All you need to do is to throw in the ingredients into the soup, and you will have the restaurant-style nabe.
So these are made by a company called Morambo, and they sell various types of soup flavors. Let me show you some of their most popular products.
You have so many kinds here.
Well, at number 5 is bean sprout spicy nabe soup. The flavor is based on a type of Chinese noodles called dandanmian, and they recommend you add some bean sprouts, green onions, and pork.
Sounds like you have a lot of vegetables in it. It's
Right.
quite healthy.
At number 4 is chanko nabe soy sauce flavored soup. Chanko nabe is a type of nabe that's eaten by sumo wrestlers every day, and this allows you enjoy that taste at home.
With that, you can be like a sumo wrestler.
But in order to get big, you have to eat a lot. But yes, these are good. At number 3 is the tomato nabe soup we saw in the clip. It contains various herbs and cheese to give you a sort of Western type of nabe.
Is it Italian or something?
Sounds Italian. And at number 2 is Chinese cabbage nabe soup. This is made so that it brings out the flavor of Chinese cabbage. So, Ota-san, what do you think came in at number 1?
Number 1, all of them are quite attractive, but I think kimchi soup must be the number 1 because I see them quite a lot. People are eating them around me.
You are exactly right.
Okay.
Number 1 is this kimchi jjigae soup. It's flavored to taste like kimchi, which is a traditional Korean spicy pickled cabbage. And the spicy taste is said to be a hit with the consumers.
I like spicy food as well, especially in winter. It makes yourself warmer from the inside.
I agree. Well, if any of our viewers plan to visit Japan in the winter, I recommend they try out some of these nabe. After the break, we'll be showing you a popular Japanese documentary program. Stay tuned.
Just a map and a heart full of courage. Our founders started out with little, but they dared to dream big. Today, our reach is global and our resources extensive. but we still have our eyes on the horizon. With courage, reaching out to the world. Mitsui & Company.
Traditional.
Consistent.
Precise.
Speedy.
Professional. Innovative.
Polite. Quality from Japan. The best of business in Asia. SMBC. Sumitomo Mitsui Banking Corporation.
ยังจำได้หรือเปล่านะเรื่องต่างๆที่เกิดขึ้นตอนวาดรูปนี้แต่ถ้ารถยนต์ในฝันของฉันมีจริงฉันคงจะมีความสุขมากเลย
My parents work at a really great company, which makes cool computers and LCD TVs. Not only that, they build elevators for skyscrapers and zooming fast bullet trains. My mom designs the company's CT scan systems, which spot diseases. My dad develops power generation systems so people will have plenty of electricity. The company where my parents work is Toshiba.
Has anybody finished doing their pictures?
I have.
All around the world, Toshiba technology is hard at work, bringing smarter, faster, more sustainable development to life.
When I grow up, I want to work for people.
For a growing future, Toshiba.
We've just added a new power shovel, and it's great.
Really? Who makes it?
Kobelco.
Kobelco? Never heard of it.
It's Japanese. And let me tell you, its fuel efficiency is incredible.
Oh.
Kobelco's power shovel delivers more while consuming less. Just like my sweetie.
Don't say that.
And powerful too.
The talk of the world. Kobelco.
The search is on to discover the next creative master of Asia. Japan's leading TV and radio network, TBS, brings to you the Digicon 6 Awards. Giving visual artists in Asia an opportunity to create their dreams. Whether it's a short drama, animation, or music video, if it's yours, you may be the next winner of the Digicon 6 Grand Prize. For more details, check out digicon6.com. It's time to create your dreams.
You're watching Channel Japan. In our next segment, we introduce you to some popular Japanese documentary programs. Today, it's an episode from Japanese Dream by TBS. The topic is about a crafter who created the world's smallest pair of scissors.
And this is it. The blade is just 2 millimeters long. They are used in endoscopic surgery to remove cancer cells and tumors.
The inventor's work is generating strong interest from the medical community. Have a look.
A grain of rice, scissors that are even smaller. Its length, just 2 millimeters. These are the world's smallest endoscopic scissors. It is a revolutionary tool used to remove cancerous cells from areas once considered too difficult to operate on. The inventor is widely regarded as a genius, Miyuki Nishimura. He was himself once a cancer patient. Cancer was found in 5 places, including his stomach and colon, and he was told he had a 5-year, 50% survival rate.
自分が癌になった時点で死ぬか生きるかの問題になってきますから早く難症ね早く出さないといけないと
A desire to help patients and doctors. We follow a man dedicating his life in pursuit of a dream.
I have a dream.
Miyuki Nishimura is the chairman of the medical equipment maker. But he is an engineer first and foremost who feels at home in the workshop.
ここが私の部屋っていうか場所ですね。毎日ここ来てる。だから机もなければ引き出しもないという。はい。で私ばかりじゃなくてリバーセイコーの社長も今ここにいるけどここが社長の部屋だから頭にねやっぱり立つ人は自分で物を作らなきゃダメだっていう信念があるもんで。
Peering through a microscope, Mr. Nishimura is working on a pair of endoscopic scissors. Parts just millimeters in size are put together by hand. The angle of a 2 millimeter long blade is adjusted with pliers. He relies only on his eyes and touch, but the blades are combined perfectly. This is true craftsmanship. Mr. Nishimura is making a tool used in cancer treatment, but
これがずっと最初にやった直腸と大腸がんの時で、こっち側のこれが肝臓がんですね。
5 years ago, he himself underwent surgery for cancer.
私みたいにね、がんの患者の人たちが負担が少ないものになれるように、そういうものを作りたいんですね。
The tool he made while fighting his own cancer was a pair of endoscopic scissors. Until then, endoscopic surgery mainly relied on the use of a needle-like scalpel, but that required a high degree of skill. He showed us how it's done using a clay model of the colon. This protruding section is the cancerous tumor. Using a needle scalpel, the entire endoscope is moved around to scrape and remove the tumor. But the slightest wrong move, and there's a risk of damaging the intestinal walls. But with these scissors, the blades are directed at the tumor, so the risk is much lower. The endoscope also doesn't need to be moved around as much, making it easier to work in narrow spaces. It's also possible to treat areas once considered too difficult with an endoscope. The scissors are gentle on both doctor and patient. Development began 6 years ago. Many of the parts measured less than a millimeter in size and had complex shapes. Making them with a machine was not possible. Everything had to be done by hand. One year after the project began, Mr. Nishimura fell ill. Seeing his insides on the monitor, he quietly thought, I wonder if this cancer can be removed with my scissors. Even in the face of cancer, all he could think about was his scissors. At this time, the cancer had already spread to his intestines, rectum, colon, and liver.
それはもうダメだと思いましたね。もうあれだけはっきりとしたもう見ただけでわかるがんつうのはね。
His wife of 40 years.
もうそんなことあっちゃいけないっていうことしか私の頭の中にいなかった。絶対そんなことあっちゃいけないって、もう事実としてこう受け止めれない自分がそこにいましたけど。
Cancer in 5 places. All were in advanced stages, and endoscopic treatment was not possible. A 13-hour operation to remove the tumors was successful, but he lost half of his liver, rectum, and colon. He was told his survival rate over the next 5 years was 50%. Even as he battled the constant fear of the cancer returning, he threw himself into work. He didn't want people to go through the same suffering.
もう早いとこそれを世に出せば外科手術じゃなくて、内視鏡手術でいけると。早く何しろね、早く出さないといけないと。
In the summer of 2012, he exhibited the scissors at a scientific conference in China, where it generated intense interest. His dream had crossed the water.
你这个电刀只要切得比较慢，就能够手术非常成功。我认为这个刀是非常有发展的。我们单位还准备进2把这个刀，我已经刚才在楼下已经说了。
Scissors made in Japan are starting to spread across the world. A 5-year, 50% survival rate. Over the past half-decade, Mr. Nishimura has been battling fears of a recurrence, and this year, his life was turned upside down again.
なんか急に倒れて、で結局病名が心筋梗塞だそうで。
Myocardial infarction is triggered by blocked arteries. Surgery saved his life, but the damage to his heart was permanent. This is Mr. Nishimura's heart. The upper half has largely stopped functioning. Immediately after being transferred out of the intensive care unit, he began working from his hospital bed. The treatment he received gave him an idea. He's now working on a catheter, which are inserted into blood vessels and used to expand passageways that have become too narrow. After undergoing the treatment himself, Mr. Nishimura wanted to develop a less burdensome treatment method for patients.
2日間入れといてくださいって話だったんで、なんだ絶対安静だってことで絶対動くなっつって言われたんで、なんで動いちゃいけないのっつったら折れるっつうんですよね。あれと思ったらね、だからじゃあある程度ね動いても折れないものを作ってやればいいわけでしょ。
Mr. Nishimura turns his own disease into a source of energy, all for the dream of helping doctors and patients. After about 2 weeks in hospital, he returned home. The doctors told him not to move around, but all he could think about was getting to work on his idea.
助けてもらった命だから、なんとかそのお返ししたいっていうのは頭にまだあるんだよね。
それにはとりあえず今体をもうちょっとちゃんとするまで我慢してっていうことが私は先じゃないかなって思います。
But the next morning, Mr. Nishimura heads to his company.
変わらないね。
It's been 18 days since he went to work. His wife, who doesn't approve, can only watch silently. Only a handful of employees know that he was hospitalized for myocardial infarction.
よっしゃ。戻ったぞ。長いこと思うじゃない。はい、おめでとうございます。ありがとうございます。
もう無理だからしなんだ。
大丈夫だね。よいしょ。よいしょ。これだけで。
Naturally, he's far from recovered, but he begins making a new catheter based on his own experience. Medical equipment that's gentle on patients and doctors. Mr. Nishimura is continuing to follow his dream.
今日はね、そこの
His wife is slowly coming around.
病院行ったりするとどうしてもこうどんよりしたそういう気持ちにもなりますでしょ。なので私だけでもこう明るくそういうね雲をこう取り払ってあげるみたいなそういう風にしてなきゃいけないかなって本当にね好きなようにこう生きてもらいたいかなって考えてますね。
ありがたいことですね。はい。私の場合はもう悔いがないですね。はい、だからこのまんまこの状態で、おそらく行くと思いますね。だから看護圏の中に入っててもその処置群は持っているでしょうね。おそらく。
So Ota-san, I was very impressed with how dedicated and passionate Mr. Nishimura is to develop medical equipment, even when he himself is a patient.
I felt the same way. Well, let me show some other world-class medical technologies that have been developed in Japan. For example, this syringe needle is very small. What makes this needle different from other conventional needle is that this causes no pain.
No, needles do hurt.
Let me explain why it is that. Okay, the human skin has numerous points where you feel the sensation of pain. Typical syringe needle in Japan that are used for vaccinations are about 0.5 millimeter in diameter. But this needle is just 0.18 millimeters. Because it's extremely thin, it can be inserted without touching the pain points.
That is just amazing technology.
And these painless needles are mainly used for people who need to administer the injections themselves, such as diabetic patients who require frequent insulin shots. And they are now used by 200,000 people in Japan, and countries such as Germany, Italy, and China.
Well, as someone who doesn't like injections, I hope they become more common in hospitals. After the break, we'll be showing you an episode from a popular economics program. Don't go away.
Time, it's only time. We are in this time. It's just
As life moves ever faster, we're an engine that helps your business accelerate. We're an eye that examines your health. We're a gentle light that guides you home. Wish for something better. Trust us to create it.
Giving shape to ideas. Konica Minolta.
The Norin Chukin Bank has a mission to fulfill. We are committed to the advancement of agriculture, fisheries, and forestry in Japan. Backing the network of our people and communities to help and support one another is a source of pride for us. This is our style of banking. We're banking on trusted networks. The Norin Chukin Bank.
Changing emissions from copper refineries into fertilizer. That is where Sumitomo Chemical got its start. For 100 years, we've been delivering the power of chemistry around the world. And we will continue to help make the world a better place for the next 100 years and more.
How do we build sustainability into our relationship with Mother Earth? That's Kaiteki, Mitsubishi Chemical Holdings.
Hey, look at this. They're building a huge steel plant with Kobelco technology.
Kobelco? Never heard of it.
It's Japanese. They can make iron with incredible speed. What once took 8 hours can be done in just 10 minutes.
Wow, the Japanese are incredible. The country of karate.
Ha! 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 Karate has nothing to do with it.
True.
The talk of the world, Kobelco.
Suzuki Way of Life.
Asia, the engine of the global economy. Japan, a regional powerhouse. And now, direct from Japan, economic news with a global impact in Chinese and English, delivered by Nikkei. Read the future, lead the economy. Nikkei, Japan's leading media for business.
You're watching Channel Japan. Next, we introduce you to some popular Japanese economics programs. Today, it's from Gachiri Monday by TBS. The topic is money-making chemical formulas.
That's right. I'm sure some of you remember struggling with the chemical formulas when you were at school.
I was definitely one of them.
For example, this is H2O.
Yes.
H2O, as you know, water. This chemical formula means there are 2 hydrogen atoms and 1 oxygen atom to each other to form a water molecule. Today, we will show some new products that have been developed based on such a chemical formulas.
Well, let's have a look.
Today in Gachiri Monday. Money-making chemical formulas. Chemical formulas are something we all learned about in school, such as H2O as in water and CO2 as in carbon dioxide. Those letter and number combinations will probably give some people a headache. But among these mind-boggling chemical formulas are some, if used effectively, can become big moneymakers. The first is 6CO2 plus 6H2O turns into 6O2 plus C6H12O6. This already seems complicated. This is actually the chemical equation for plant photosynthesis. Plants take in CO2 or carbon dioxide from their leaves and H2O or water from their roots, and release O2 or oxygen. So how exactly can you make money off the equation for photosynthesis? We visited the Zenmyo plant of a company called Denso. Meeting us is
こんにちは、いらっしゃいませ。
He's Kinya Atsumi. Denso makes various car-related products such as air conditioners and navigation systems. Annual sales are over $35 billion. So how do you make money from the chemical equation for photosynthesis?
あちらです。
We follow him to a glass-covered hothouse. Inside, there seems to be a lazy river with a murky color. The green water whirls around and around. What is this?
藻が栽培されてるんです。はい。
Mr. Atsumi says the green stuff is algae. So, how do they profit from growing algae?
実はこの藻は特別な藻で、体の中に油を作るんですよ。油？はい。
In fact, they're making oil inside this hothouse. It's a dream technology to replace petroleum with oil from algae photosynthesis. So why do algae produce oil?
光と水と二酸化炭素で光合成によってその糖と酸素を出して、その糖から今度は体内で代謝が起こって油を作っているわけですね。その油は中性脂肪って言いまして、私たちのこの中性脂肪と同じものですね。はい。
So let's review the chemical equation for photosynthesis. Carbon dioxide and water create oxygen, and the other one, C6H12O6, created with oxygen, is glucose. Glucose is an energy source for various living things. Mr. Atsumi says stressing out the algae after it produces glucose, turns the glucose into neutral lipids.
人間と同じようにストレスでメタボになるようなそういう感じです。
To take the oil out of the algae, first, they're dried. After being made into a powder form, a special liquid is mixed in. Then, a black liquid emerges.
これですね。藻の中にある油です。
But is this really oil? When put to a flame, it's burning. This is oil without question. Since many plants carry out photosynthesis, why focus on algae?
木ですと茎になったり葉っぱになったり根っこになったり実になったりで、その実の中の油が3割とかそういうになりますけど、全体の3割が油なので非常に効率よく油が作られるっていうことですね。
Algae photosynthesis is said to be very efficient. They don't produce flowers or fruits, so most of their energy goes to making oil. The algae being grown by Denso have another special characteristic.
これの藻はシュードコレシスティスって言います。成長速度が非常に速い藻を使っております。
This species was discovered at a hot spring in Japan by a Denso researcher. They're known to make especially vast amounts of oil. The company is currently studying how to use algae oil as car fuel. They plan to commercialize the technology by 2020. Next is this. CH3CH2OH turns into CH3CHO plus H2. Again, we have no clue what this means, but apparently it's a cash cow for one company. So we head to Zetia Pharmaceutical.
こんにちは。ゼリア新薬工業の山田幸太郎です。
So, what's the key product of this company?
はい、当社ではこれヘパリーゼを作っているんです。ヘパリーゼは、飲み会などの付き合いなどでお疲れがちな方に効く需要競争剤です。
Heparize is said to be effective against fatigue from overdrinking, and sales have been brisk. Since it was launched, over 10 million bottles have been sold. Sales in 2011 reached $81 million. The secret is hidden in this equation. Mr. Yamada, what does it mean?
肝臓でのアルコール代謝の化学式なんです。
In simple terms, it's an equation that expresses a drunkard. Chemically, this part is the alcohol. It means when alcohol enters the body, two H's or hydrogen molecules drop off, becoming something called acetaldehyde. This is actually a problematic substance. It binds two proteins in the body together, As a result, the proteins cannot function effectively, causing symptoms such as headaches, stomach sickness, and lethargy. The liver will break down some acetaldehyde, but when you drink too much, the liver can't keep up. So acetaldehyde collects in your body, triggering that hangover feeling.
そこでヘパリーゼ
So, Mr. Yamada, how exactly does it work?
このような肝臓にいい成分がたくさん入っておるんですけども、その中でもメイン成分が肝臓水解物なんです。
Liver hydrolysate. What exactly is it?
良質な豚の肝臓を細かく分解いたしまして、肝臓の働きを元気にする成分を抽出したものです。
The main ingredient of Heparize is pig liver. In other words, it uses the power of pig liver to provide support for the human liver, making you feel refreshed. Next is this: C6H8O6 plus C6H12O6 turns into C12H18O11 plus H2O. This is completely over our heads. This equation actually represents something that most of us are familiar with, and it's making money. The person who came up with this is in Okayama Prefecture in this building. Seeing the sign for Ascor Biolab, we enter the room.
Hi.
This man is 72-year-old Itaru Yamamoto. So what do you make here?
新型のビタミンC なんですよ。
A new type of vitamin C? Vitamin C is commonly found in fruits and vegetables and is said to protect the body against illness. What's different about this new type of vitamin C?
光あるいは熱に弱かったのがそういう条件では壊れないと。
Vitamin C is good for the body, but it's a substance that easily breaks down with heat or light. The reason is clear from the formula. Vitamin C is C6H8O6. As a shape, it looks like this.
実はここのところに酸素がひっついてしまうとこれが勝手に分解していく性質を持っている。
This is the Achilles heel of vitamin C. Oxygen binds easily to this part, and once it does, vitamin C breaks down. Mr. Yamamoto thought about the problem.
だから違う分子をここに結合させると。
If there's a weak part, reinforce it. He attached glucose to that section. The chemical equation shows how attaching glucose to regular vitamin C creates a completely new type of vitamin C. This strong vitamin C is in heavy demand across various industries. And it's not just nutritional supplements. About 80% of Japanese cosmetics makers are said to use Mr. Yamamoto's vitamin.
So, Ota-san, I'm not much of a science person, but it was interesting seeing how various products such as fuel and medicine can be derived from chemical formulas.
That's right. Chemical formulas are certainly not glamorous, but behind some very innovative products, as you saw in the clip, this new type of vitamin C doesn't break down as easily as regular vitamin C, so it can be more effective. Here's a product using a new type of vitamin C. It's a honey.
It doesn't look like honey.
This is honey that is mixed with new vitamin C so that you can spread it on bread or have it with yogurt or even tea. It makes it more convenient to get your daily takes of vitamin C.
So why don't we have a taste?
Let's try.
Okay.
Yep. It looks just like regular honey.
Yes, I think regular honey is more brown, or I wonder how it tastes like.
How is it? Taste it?
I taste the lemon.
Tastes like
and
a lemon?
It's sour.
Let me try. Exactly. I can feel vitamin C there.
I think it's less sweet than regular honey and more sour, like lemon tea.
In Japan, the recommended daily dosage of vitamin C for adults is 100 milligrams. A teaspoon of this said to contain 2,500 milligrams.
Wow, so that's 25 times more than the recommended amount.
Actually, it's more than enough you have to take.
Well, especially with the health boom in Japan and around the world, I'm sure there will be more interest in such products in the future. Well, that's all for this edition of Channel Japan. We have much more in store for you next week, so make sure you tune in.
These little fairy tale houses incorporate some very practical environmental ideas. When the roofs need to be repaired, their stones are reused. People putting their ideas to work to build a greener future.
Panasonic is engaged in resource conservation worldwide through recycling and many other initiatives.
Panasonic, ideas for life. We are protecting the world's #1, so the equipment we provide also has to be the world's highest standard. Tokyo Skytree is protected from strong winds by vibration control systems. At this very moment, our technology is limiting sway at the top of the world's tallest tower with millimeter precision. Our technologies, your tomorrow. Mitsubishi Heavy Industries.
As the future evolves, Toyota is envisioning a more interconnected life where information and energy flow seamlessly throughout the globe. The road ahead will require diverse and eco-friendly mobility solutions. It is on this path that our small choices lead to big changes. Life. Connected. Toyota.
Mitsubishi Electric is helping to change the environment for the better around the world.
Green subway systems in India.
Green air conditioning systems in Singapore.
Eco changes for a greener tomorrow. Mitsubishi Electric.
Traditional.
Consistent.
Precise.
Speedy.
Professional. Innovative.
Polite. Quality from Japan. The best of business in Asia. SMBC. Sumitomo Mitsui Banking Corporation.
How do we build sustainability into our relationship with Mother Earth? That's Kaiteki, Mitsubishi Chemical Holdings.
Channel Japan. Direct from Tokyo to the world. Get the latest stories from Japan as they happen on the ground. Business, fashion, culture, and food. Everything you need to know about the hottest trends across the country.
Channel Japan.